Hi, welcome back to Box Delights Game Channel. We're playing War of the Ring. We're still on round 3 and it's the Shadows player to start us off. We're interested in building this attack on from the south here, from the south Rons, but they're not at war yet, so we can do something about that right now. So we're going to use one of these army muster dice as a diplomatic action, using the muster part. And then we can put the South Rons and Easterlings one step down the political track. Now all the Shadow player nations are at war. And Free Peoples now, they've got one character dice left. I was thinking about maybe moving the Fellowship again. Remember last time we played Strider's ability, which allowed us to hide the Fellowship. And one thing that's important to note, you cannot move the Fellowship if it's revealed, okay? So Strider's ability is really helpful to make sure that we can keep hiding the Fellowship and then we can keep using character dice to move the Fellowship along. So do remember that. You cannot move the Fellowship if it is revealed. It must be hidden. As it goes, I've got something else I'm going to do with this die, and this is what I was planning to do previously. I've got 5 cards, event cards at the moment, and there's a hand limit of 6, so when I draw next time I'm going to have to discard one. But you'll remember, Gandalf and Merry here were headed down to Fangorn, and one of the things I was hoping for was this event card here, the Ents Awake, which I can use with my character die because of the character icon up here. And it says, play if Gandalf the White is in play and a companion is in Fangorn. Roll 3 dice. For each result of 4+, score 1 hit against a Shadow army in Orthanc. If the army is destroyed, so are any Nazgul and minions along with it. If Saruman is in Orthanc without the Shadow army, eliminate him. Let's roll our 3 dice. Wow, 2 hits. That's a good result. For each result of 4+, score 1 hit against a Shadow army in Orthanc. The Shadow player decides how to take those casualties, and here we're going to just see the quick difference, and this is kind of a good foundation to understanding how battles are going to work. How do you take hits? We've got to take 2 hits, so we've got just 2 ways of doing this. We can remove 2 regular units, 1 for each hit, or we can remove 1 elite unit for two hits. Or you can downgrade an elite unit for 1 hit, and then with the second hit remove a regular unit. And you can see in this instance that's identical to just removing the elite unit. The point is that the difference between regular and elite units is elite units can soak up 2 hits, regular units can only soak up 1 hit. In this instance, I'm going to remove the elite unit. Now this will go back to the supply as a reinforcement. What this means is that the Shadows players kind of got an infinite supply of reinforcements, unless they're all on the table, which is very unlikely. Alright, if they die, they just go back to the supply as reinforcements. If you're playing Free Peoples, when a unit dies, they're gone for good. They're removed from the game. They don't come back as reinforcements. So that's an advantage to being Shadow player. Now you can resolve the second part, which says, if Gandalf the White is in Fangorn, which he is, or in a Rohan region, you may immediately play another character event card from your hand without using an action die. So let's discard this and we're going to play 1 more character event card. And the card we're going to use, we've only got 1 character card. This one's a muster, this one's an army, a muster, this one's a character. It's called Ethelas. And what this says is roll 3 dice and heal 1 corruption point for each result of 5+. If Strider is the guide, which he is, he'll 1 corruption point for each die result of 3+ instead. And that's great. Remember, Strider's the guide, and we've got corruption of 3 at the moment, so potentially we could, if we're with a lucky roll, push that right the way back down to 0. Let's see how we do. So 3 dice, and we're looking for 3 pluses. Oh, would you believe it? That's about as unlucky as you can get. 3 2s, 3 peoples. It's got nothing that can save them there. The dice were unfavourable. Alright, that ends the turn. We discard this character die, discard the Ethelas card. That's very bad luck, because that Ethelas card is really useful. We remain on 3 corruption. It's all about the shadow player now, and they've got 2 action dice left. The first thing I'm going to do is use a muster die in response to that attack on Orthanc last turn. And with this muster, I'm going to play a special ability from Saruman. The Voice of Saruman. As long as Orthanc's under your control and not under siege, you can use a muster die action to recruit 1 regular Isengard unit in every Isengard settlement, or to replace 2 regular Isengard units in Orthanc with 2 elite units. And I'm going to do the latter. I'm going to replace 2 regular units with 2 elite units in Orthanc. So you can see Saruman's pretty good at raising recruitments. I think these elite units are called Wall Riders or something, but I'm sure the Lord of the Rings fans will correct me if that's wrong. So we lost an elite unit, we just got 2 back. And once more, the 2 that we've replaced go back to the reinforcement supply. Finally then, we've got a character die, and with this, remember previously we used the character die to move an army with a leader. I can't remember what it was, I think it was either this one down here or this one over here. What we're going to do now is not just move 1 army with a leader, we're going to attack with 1 army with a leader. And we're going to do this down here with these Southrons in West Harandor. You can only attack an adjacent enemy army, and you can only attack if you're at war. And if you remember, we have this round put the Southron and Easterling nation at war. So that's pretty simple. These 2 regions are adjacent, so this army will attack this army here at Pelargir. First thing to note is, remember, we're only attacking with 1 army with a leader, but when you're attacking, you don't actually move into the region that you're attacking, you just stay put, and you just announce the fact, I'm attacking from here to here. The other thing is we don't have to attack with the whole army, we've only got 1 guy here to worry about, so we could potentially say, well, actually I'm going to split this attacking army, I'm only going to attack with this leader and this elite unit and these 3, and I'm going to keep these 3 guys back here as a rear guard. And what that means is, because they're not engaged in the battle, if you do get some poor rolls and these have to take heavy casualties, these guys are safe. Remember, I have to have at least a leader. I can't keep the leader back here in the rear guard because I use my character die to attack. I need to have a leader in the attacking force. As it goes, I'm going to choose to attack with everybody. Now remember, we're attacking Gondor, and the first thing we need to do is go and make a change on the political track. Here's Gondor. If you attack a passive nation, that nation becomes activated. So we flip over their token here. If you attack, and every time you attack a nation, their marker moves 1 step down the political track. So now Gondor is at war. The first step for resolving a battle is that each player now gets the option to play a combat card, starting with the attacker. A combat card is just an event card, so if we grab the shadow player's event cards here, remember I told you there were 2 parts and the second part was used in battle? This is the part we normally activate when we play an event card. Each card has this lower part. So Day Without Dawn has a lower part which says Relentless Assault. This is a combat card, effectively. Right? So this is the part of the event card that we use as a combat card. Candle of Corpses event has the combat card Dread and Despair. Threats and Promises is also the combat card Devilry of Orthanc. So, for example, Devilry of Orthanc says, play if an Isengard army unit is in the battle and the defending army is in a stronghold, add 1 to all dice on your combat roll. Okay, so you can see that each event card is also a combat card, and that's when we use the lower part. As it goes, neither player is going to use any combat cards, so we'll skip past that. The next step then is to actually roll the dice, the combat dice. And before we do that, we need to work out the combat strength of our respective armies. The combat strength of an army is the number of army units. So for the Gondor army in Pelargir, its combat strength is 1. For the Southron and Easterling army in South Arandor, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units. Alright, the elite doesn't count double or anything like that. It's just the number of units, the number of figures here. The leader does not count. Remember, the leader is just one person amongst these hundreds or thousands of peoples. And the combat strength determines the number of dice we roll during the combat. And there's a maximum of 5. So for the shadow player with 7 units, he's going to roll 5 combat dice. For the free peoples with only 1 unit, they're going to roll 1 combat dice. And this is called the combat roll. Let's do that. We can roll them all together, that's just fine. Right, let's have a look in detail at what we've rolled here. Every roll of a 5 or a 6 is a hit. 1 to 4 is a miss. So the free peoples scored no hits. The shadow player has got 1 hit here, a 5. But we have to make some changes to the regular conditions of combat when there are some fortifications or cities involved. Here the free peoples player is at a city. It's this rectangular graphic with the 1 victory point symbol. If you're at a city during the first round of combat only, the attacker will only hit on the roll of a 6, not 5s, just a 6. But after we've resolved the first round of combat, subsequent rounds will continue as normal, hitting on a 5 or a 6. So what that means is, effectively, the shadow player has rolled 5 misses, not a single hit there, because only a 6 would be a hit against a unit in a city on the first combat round. Once we've done our combat roll, we can then do what's called the leader reroll. And first we need to work out our level of leadership. Free Peoples has no leaders, but the shadow player does. It has this 1 Nazgul here. And remember I told you earlier that a Nazgul has a leadership of 1. And during the leader reroll, what that means is each player can reroll a number of failures equal to their leadership. Now these are all failures. So shadow player has got 5 failures, but they've only got a leadership of 1, which means they can re-roll 1 of these dice. Okay, which we'll do now. And we got another miss. And that's it. That's the end of our dice rolling. So that's the combat roll followed by the leader re-roll. What you would normally do now is remove any casualties. Now we don't have any casualties. None of these were hits. The attacker now has the option to either cease the attack or to continue. If we decide to cease the attack, we just finish now, everyone stays where they are. If we decide to continue the battle, then we'll go into another combat round. But before we do that, the defender has an opportunity to retreat. So at the end, and only at the end of each combat round, the defender could, if they wish, retreat. So the Free Peoples player is going to decide to retreat immediately into an adjacent free region. We're going to move back into Lamdon. Now the shadow player has the option to move all or part of the attacking army into the region from which the defender retreated or was defeated. the shadow player is going to move his whole army into Pelargir. The shadow player has now captured this city, and to indicate this fact we need to take a settlement control marker. So we'll head off to our supply and grab one of these settlement control markers. They're double-sided, red for the shadow on one side, blue for free peoples on the other, and we'll place it here on Pelargir city to indicate that we've now captured this settlement. And it's worth 1 victory point. So the next thing we'll do is take the shadow player's victory point marker and move it up onto the track at number 1 here. Remember, our target is to get 10 victory points for a military victory. You'll notice there's 3 types of settlement. There's the city here, Pelargir, then there's this stronghold. This one's worth 2 victory points. And there's also towns, like here, Orthanc, and that's worth no victory points at all. But it also offers no defensive benefits in combat. The only benefit really of a town is it allows you to muster troops there, so you can put your recruitments at a town. Now that we've captured Pelargir, the Free People's player can no longer muster recruitments in this city. The other feature you'll see on regions is these fortifications, and they behave in battle just like a city, so they give you that benefit of the attacker having to roll a 6, not just a 5 or a 6, for the first round of combat. So that was our first round of combat. It was pretty uneventful. There was only 1 unit here, and he's retreated. But you've learned a little bit now, I think, about what a combat roll is, what a leadership reroll is, and how to retreat. That was the shadow player's last action dice, so we end round 3 here.